All right, let me loop that.
Okay.
Are you there? Hello, Mr. Leo J. Leo. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How you doing, Gigi?
I am doing good. I wanted to run a little video for those of you that don't know, and saludos to everybody in Facebook land, in YouTube, and Tejano TV. Saludos to Juan Mendoza Jr. and Laila Lisa Promotions. Thank you for everybody that watches and tunes in. We've got a treat for you today. We've got Leo J. Leo. If you don't know who he is, and before I ask you to say a few words, I'm going to show a little video that I compiled um, of of your goings ons, Mr. Leo J. Leo. Hold on. Hope you enjoy this.
Cuando ríes, cuando lloras, me gustas. Cuando me hablas y me abrazas, me gustas. Porque a veces protestas por algo sin razón, porque tienes pintado de rojo el corazón. Cuando miro...
Hi. So
Hi.
that is like a little compilation of your history in our Tejano music. Now, go ahead and say hi to everybody, Mr. Leo J. Leo.
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you on your show. I'm really well impressed. I, I'm not too good at this, getting into this and all the, intricacies of Facebook. When it
It's
comes to
new for a lot of
that,
us. Uh,
but I'm learning from you. Thank you.
yes.
So I'd like to say hello to everybody, and it's been a long journey for me anyway, as far as playing my horn with various groups, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been a very important part of my life.
Yes, and I wanted to show and saludos to Norma Salazar. Hello, and Robert Vasquez says, "God bless and good morning." Saludos desde Littlefield, Texas. Thank you for joining. I wanted to show. This is where I met you. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know much about you, and I met you here. This is how I knew you, right there, because my a good family friend Eddie Perez sings with the West Side Band, and he invited me to go check you all out. And during practice now, and he knew I was missing my dad, and we just don't we're not playing anymore, obviously, and it was really good to go in there, and it was my surprise to see all these. Oh my goodness, the sound you all had with West Side Band, aside from having Mr. Eddie Perez as your singer, um, the the I mean the professionalism in the band, and I was totally floored that two of my band directors from when I was in elementary and then high school were actually in the West Side Band. Mr. Richard Garza and Mr. Joe Valadez. They were my band directors in school. And so, but what amazed me even more than that was your professionalism and the way how you just had it all together, and everybody in there is so professional. Saludos to Michelle, the only girl in your group. She is just outstanding, and I love how you all were working together, like you were practicing, and you'd stop and like, okay, no, it goes, bum 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 or whatever, kind of coaching each other and helping each other out. That was beautiful chemistry among you guys, and beautiful professionalism among you guys. To see that, it definitely sent me back to the days of being in band and just getting it all together. So I mean, so there we go. Now you have a lot of history. Right now you're with West Side Band, but you have a lot of history. You sent me some pictures, and you've been around. Let's just say you've been around. Let's see. You were with this guy.
Yes, yes. I went on several tours with him, with Carlos Band, but that started when I was in high school. Actually, I started playing with a local band. We made a band called the Rebels, and I was in junior high when I started, and then I got picked up by Sergio Munoz, and he had just gotten out from Lenny Salinas. Lenny Salinas had the Lenny and the Lucky Six, of which Sergio was a part of it, and so was my cousin David Leo, who went on to play and record with the Casinos. Anyway, and then from there on, from then on, it was just like I kept going to different groups, and uh, I'll never forget the time when Carlos. I had to go on a tour, and I was I think 16 years old, and Carlos Guzman had hired Sergio Munoz and the Incas to back him up to go on a tour to the Midwest, to Chicago, and then to Michigan and Wisconsin and Indiana and Ohio. And so he had to go and ask permission from my dad because I was a minor, and then so he did, and so my dad just looked at him. Okay, all right. He didn't like the idea because my dad had a grocery store. He wanted me to work there, so I
Yes.
I managed to go during the summer. Well, I was still in high school, and so I took off, and that was my first experience going on the road, on the
On the
road in
road.
Mojita.
And you
Mojita.
one of your hitas, and you had desveladas with your hitas. Um,
Yeah,
so you
go
were
ahead.
young when you
Yeah, yes,
started.
I was very young, and it was the best times of my life. I saw parts of the U.S. It was at a very young age, and it was quite an experience. And Carlos I think he was in his 30s at the time, and he was experienced, and it was like he taught us all this stuff. We're going on the road, and we took off in his station wagon. I'll never forget, and off we went.
That's why I have part of my logo, the station wagon with the stuff on top. Because at that time when it all started. Now I want to go back to and let me just do some quick saludos to everybody that's commenting, and thank you for so much for coming in. George Salazar says hello, Gigi, and George Salazar says happy birthday, Chris Rodriguez, who has his show, the Crispity Crisp show, and his in his awesome studio that he has a podcast studio and a recording studio. That's awesome. If you guys want to check him out, go say hi to Chris Rodriguez. And he says hello, Gigi and Leo J. Leo. And George Salazar says go blue. Oh, it's Chris's birthday.
Oh.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chris. Happy birthday to you. All right. Happy birthday, Chris. So now as I was doing a little bit of research on you, Mr. Leo J. Leo, I simply Googled Leo J. Leo, and I I was floored by what I saw, because you are Leo J. Leo Jr. Your
Correct.
father, Leo J. Leo, was a prominent member of in politics and in La Jolla. Uh, uh, and so many things, so many accolades that your dad had. And one thing that really, really just stuck out for me, that he was part of the civil rights movement, which we have talked about in this show before, that really lo que es la música chicana, what you play, que es part orchestra, is a combination of music from our Mexican heritage, but the influence of American music. You know, I know, like Abraham Quintanilla mentioned that he loved the bebop, and that's what they did. And there was the Ben Miller band in that area, the orchestras in that time, and so I can only imagine you were influenced. And I thought, what a way to kind of pay tribute to your dad's um, efforts in the civil rights movement than to continue with the music, which is distinctly ours, distinctly ours, Americans
Correct.
of Mexican descent,
Yes.
because it has obviously all the language, first of all, from Mexico, and but then the orchestra, which you've been a part of, and I thought that was just so cool. And anybody who doesn't know the background of Leo J. Leo Jr. and his dad, just Google it. I did, and I was just fascinated, by your background. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you want
In fact, that's how I got interested in Tejano music and playing the trumpet, because when when my dad took me one time to a big political rally somewhere over there in Far or somewhere, and guess who was playing? It was Carlos Guzman, and it was Carlos Guzman, and I think the Impalas. He had a group called the Impalas at that time.
uh-huh.
And I was watching the guys play. I was like 10 years old, or no, not even 10 years old. I was like 80 years old or 9 years old. And I said, hey, I'm going to play the trumpet. I liked the way the guy was playing. I don't even recall the musicians at the time, but that was an influence on me. And so that caused me, I told Dad, I want to join band and I want to play the trumpet. So he took me when I'm beginner band and he bought me a trumpet. Well, actually, at the time it was a cornet because nobody ever started in school with trumpets. It started with cornets, which
Uh,
is a smaller version of the trumpet. But anyway, and the rest is history, and I went on from there.
now, what did your dad think, being a prominent political figure?
Oh
What,
yeah, he was very much for civil rights of the Mexican Americans, and of course at the time the establishment, there was a lot of the DPSs and all that. They were all Anglo Americans, and they didn't like my dad. They did not like him at all. They, in fact,
too
they were
outspoken.
too outspoken, and they would go and kind of keep an eye on him for whatever reason, and we got caught in the rift. But the others made that history, and it's all over with. But he did make quite a mark in the history of Mexican Americans. Yes.
Yes,
He
that's
was he marched with us as a child. We went to Austin one time for to get $1.25 an hour. Back then, fighting for farm workers to get $1.25 an hour. Can you imagine? Back in the
wow.
'60s. So anyway, that's part of my
No,
history.
that's what prompted you to become what you are, and you've been a prominent member of your community as well. But of course, our interest is your Giras y Desveladas. And let me show some more pictures that you sent me, because you have quite an extensive history, musical history. And again, right now you're with WestSide Band, so you're still at it.
Yeah.
Saludos to Mr. Bobby Castañeda. Hello, Gigi and Leo from California. Thank you for chiming in, Mr. Castañeda. You sent me some pictures. Let me go through them. Now,
Okay.
I'm not just, this is WestSide Band right now.
Yes, that's the latest picture of WestSide Band. The latest CD we did with there in Chris's studio, and
Oh,
he helped us produce it, and he was a great help. Yeah.
oh, it's an awesome studio. So then I go. I don't know if maybe, I know you sent me, said this was the first one. I'm
Yeah, that was early WestSide Band. That's when we first started back in the early '90s. That's when this band has been around for WestSide Band since 1993,
I think I
'94.
remember Mike Flores there.
Yeah, Mike Flores is there, and Ben Valdez is with the accordion player. And Joe Hernandez, of course, is our manager. He's the one. Actually, he was the one that who got the band together. Believe it, he said, "Hey, what's going on with you guys?" Because I had laid off for a while after for to run my business, and so I laid off for like about 10 years, and Mike wasn't playing either, and he approached us and said, "Hey, you guys need to we need to get together and start this Tejano thing again." And so it was his brainchild, and kudos to him. He pulled the band together, and he's still part of the band to this day.
Mike
He's
Flores.
no Joe
Oh,
Hernandez.
yeah, that's right. I wanted to say that I sat in recently at one of your practices, and I hadn't heard Mike Flores play the drums, and I was so delighted with his style.
Oh,
It's
he's a
so,
fine drummer. My God, Mike has got a lot of history to him, and I'm sure you've had him on your show, and
yes, yes. But I had
he's
never heard it.
you had never heard him play.
I've not, and I was right next to him, and I was like, my God, That sounds beautiful. And it
Um,
really just so smooth in the drums. Saludos to Mike Flores out there. No, you guys are strict, like I said, I mean, consummate professionals. And I was just so glad just to sit in. Let me see. And who are these guys?
oh, that's us. The Los Jóvenes back in the proof. I don't. That was Carlos. Man, that picture was taken in Lubbock, Texas. Believe it or not.
Look at those
Um,
outfits.
yeah, Chendo Beltran is the one on the extreme left, and then Gary Guajardo's in there, and Paulino. I'm in the right in the middle, and Gilbert Trejo was the guitar player, and there's Sergio and Arturo Sáenz was the drummer at the time, and we were on the road at the time. We were on a Hida. We always stopped in West Texas first, and then we headed up to Chicago. And that particular tour, we went all the way to the West Coast, to Oregon, uh, Washington State, down to California. It was just a long, long tour, but that was fun.
Now, one thing I wanted to say, and one thing that I'm glad that Tejano Roots Hall of Fame does, and not a lot of people do, is to honor the actual musicians. Yes, I'm
Mm-hmm.
hearing feedback. I believe it's me. Um, so I I'm glad that Tejano Roots does that because
Mm-hmm.
the band
Yes,
members don't get noticed.
right, exactly. And that's good that they do that. I've been asked year after year from friends who say, "Hey, make an application." So I've started doing my bio, and I think I'm going to apply for it. After all these years, I say I'm going to do it every year, and I never do. But I think it's time. It's time.
It's
It's
a
time.
wonderful thing.
Mhm.
Let's see. Bobby Castañeda says Los Jóvenes and their arrangements were very, very progressive. Who was your arranger? Great question, Mr. Castañeda.
It was a collaboration between Gary Guajardo and Sergio Munoz. Sergio Munoz didn't have a music degree, but he had a knack for arranging, and at that time um, we didn't use any music. It was all by ear, all by ear. There was no, like nowadays we got all these iPads and stuff. We read all this music, but back then it was like all right, Sergio, he would hear the part, and then here it is. You play this part. Saxophone, you play this part and this part. Well, at that time we were. It was an all brass band with the Hoynes. So he was the one that did the arrangement, and along with Gary had the ideas, and said he would put them together.
Yeah, actually, Sergio Munoz, played on one of my dad's songs at Falcon Records, and I saw that. Man, when I see those 45s from Falcon Records, it just,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just brings back so many memories.
Yeah, that particular 45 there, we even had Joe Rao go on a tour with us. So we went to Chicago also with just a Hohen as now no Carlos Guzman, it was just Joe Rao, and that was different. And Joe Rao was a fine entertainer, and we did good. We managed to record 145 with him, and it was a good recording.
Now, it's not a label I hadn't seen before.
Oh, Lenny, yeah, I worked with Lenny also. Lenny, I consider him sort of like the father of the local Tejano thing, music, because Lenny started in the late '60s, and he had musicians, and then from Lenny, Sergio, and some of the musicians split up and made the Incas, and from the Incas, uh, then they split from Sergio and they made the Casinos. Cecilio Garza, and them, and so from the casinos, Roberto Pulido joined the casinos, and he had a big hit with the casinos de Nunca Jamás, and that was his career because he at the time Roberto Pulido was playing with uh, the guys from Elsa, what's the man, Hermano Lane, and
Oh,
so it goes, how things evolve, and so. But I recorded with Lenny while I was going to college because when I got back to that, I said I needed to finish I wanted to get a college degree, so I quit going on tour and I said I'm going to get my degree. So I decided. My wife was the one that says, "Well, you like music so much. Why the hell don't you major in music?" I said, "You're right." So I majored in music, and when I was going to college, I played with Lenny and I played with Mel Real. I recorded an album with Mel Real. That was a very good experience. We only played here in Texas. We would drive on Sundays. We play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Sunday. Monday morning, they would drop me off there at Pan Am to go to school. And it was just an experience that I'll never forget. And then it was a pleasure working with Amelia Real. He was very very businesslike. He was very professional, very professional.
and saludos to Mel Real. Still waiting for your interview, Mel. He agreed. Saludos to him. So you have worked with a lot, if not the some of the biggest names, pioneers that started here. So you were part of that movement, even though you were quietly in the background playing trumpet. You played with this guy too.
Yeah, I recorded that album with Eddie Luares. That's also while I was going to college. Uh, he was playing here locally, and he was just getting started, and he had all his songs that are on that album he wrote. He wrote, and it was his arrangements, and he said, play this part, and this was the way I wanted it, and that's the way it was. And that was a very interesting time for me.
You also played with this guy. That I didn't know.
Yeah, I
That's
recorded that with Rene, and then we did a few gigs at that time with them. But at that time, I was with Encarnacion Fuentes and Eddie Fuentes and Mando Hinojosa, and so Arnaldo Ramirez wanted us to back up Rene and Rene, and they had a few gigs here in the valley, and so we did. And I recorded that album also with them, Rene and Rene.
wow.
That was a good experience.
And that's what I mean. Like, even though people don't know the name Leo J. Leo Jr. because you're not in the forefront, but you've been there all along. Now, I interviewed Alfredo Antonio Guerrero, son of Tony Ham Guerrero, Tortilla Factory.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
And so these are the guys with the Tejano with the orchestra sound. So that was definitely definitely ours, definitely created by us. Um, but the fact that how did you all? I know you started playing in the band, but how did you come along and say, okay, we're gonna do big band sound, but make it Tejano? Like you said, you had no music back then. Well, what music, right? So you just, where were you getting the ideas from? Like you mentioned Sergio Munoz, and where are you getting your ideas from to do your music? Because obviously there's no sheet music because it's getting invented at that time.
Yeah, well, we all, like I said, Lenny was a big influence, and Lenny, I think, got influence from the orchestras at the time, Isidro Lopez and those type of orchestras. There was a local orchestra here in the valley called Los Continentales, and at that time there was other groups called Sandy and the Silhouettes, and uh, other groups. Henry Neglares was very active at the time. But how did we get the idea of the horns with that was it. You know, it was orchestral. They were called orchestral Tejano music, and but then so when we did the horn, as we moved the saxophones out, and we added Gary Guajardo, and then I think we were one of the first bands to have an accordion with Tejano music.
with the
And
orchestra.
with an orchestra. Yeah, Gary Guajardo was just out of this world on the accordion. And so we recorded those recordings that we have with Gary Guajardo. He he played the accordion, and so that was sort of new to us. And so, but that's, everything, like I said, evolves, and ideas and that sort of thing, and the rest is just history.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Mhm.
And that's
Going back to your dad, man, we would run into him. Your dad was something else. He was one hell of a guy and a hell of a musician. Very creative, very creative. We would run into him in California. That's when we were on the road. We would run into all these other bands, and so we talked. And we would run into Los Únicos back then when Tacho Rivera was singing with them over there in California, and in Chicago we ran into Los Fabulosos Cuatro back when Eddie Perez and was at the top of his game there with Los Fabulosos Cuatro, and
so you were doing what they call, what they have lovingly called the migrant tours.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah,
uh,
and it was like that's why I was thinking it was so fitting for you to actually be part of the musical movement, because it was the time of civil unrest, the time of Cesar Chavez, and trying to, just trying to just find justice for a lot of the injustices. And
mhm,
and I think it's beautiful to that you all were doing it in a different way. You were making your mark with music, you know,
mhm,
and
mhm,
it's still to this day. And this is what I want. Like, si Dios quiere, and there's any younger people that run across this show, I really want them to know if they have a Spanish surname, si eres Garza, Garcia, Guerrero, Ruiz, whatever. Oh, saludos, Lupita and Pablo Ruiz, son mis tío y tía en La Joya. Saludos to them and my cousins. Um,
mhm,
that they I think American society has successfully, um, somebody used the word whitewash, but I don't like to use assimilate,
mhm.
successfully assimilated into the American society. And there's so many of us, even in my generation, I'm 54 years old, that no longer associate with their Mexican heritage or speak the language.
Yes, that's true because that's the way that things are. You just, it's a big melting pot here, and our kids, we teach them to, because of course English is the official language of the U.S. or whatever, and we want our kids to learn it the right way. And sometimes, desgraciadamente, the kids forget the Spanish. They don't practice it enough. And many of us are guilty, including myself. My daughter doesn't speak Spanish like she should. She just te dio mocha. Pero,
Yeah.
pero como quiera, of course she still communicates, but it's by my grandkids, but speak very good Spanish. So they try anyway. They've learned it. They've learned it.
Yeah, because you realize, especially now in our area in the RGV in the 956, um, we're inundated with the immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't speak their language, the language of our heritage, it's
Mm-hmm.
very hard to communicate with them. Now,
Pues
what
así
is
como like right now we're discussing this whole thing and we feel very comfortable speaking in English. You know,
yes,
whereas si hubiera este interview say in Monterey or something, we totally in Spanish.
yes.
But that's who we are now. That's who we are.
Now, that's who we are. Now, it wasn't until I was at UT Austin and I took a course in Chicano politics. I thought it was going to be an easy course. But one thing that I learned was that the Treaty of Guadalupe stipulated that the people here were gonna were gonna be allowed to keep their language and their culture and their religion. Somehow
Mm-hmm.
that disappeared in the process. That would have
Mm-hmm.
been good for us to know. I mean, other countries have their students learn 5 languages.
Mm-hmm.
Here, they only require us to learn English. So, I mean, I think
Right, right.
in the bigger scheme of things, it's better to learn more than one language. Of course,
Right.
the music language helps a lot. I think learning music helps you, and the science is there to back you up that the dendrites connect more, and you're more apt to accepting more knowledge and learning more when you have been exposed to music. What a
That's true.
wonderful way to try to keep our culture alive through
Yeah,
music.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
So, um, and that's why I say it's a wonderful thing that it's continuing. Where do you see like your music? Like you all do a lot of, although you do, you're like all Tejanos do. Like I was in the band with my dad. I mean, we had to play Tejano, but we had to play country. We had to play influence
Mm-hmm.
from Hello to Kicker Daddy and all their family from Country Rollin'.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we were influenced, and we had to do rock and roll, and we had to. Then you had to play. We also needed to play at chotis, and we needed to play wapango, and we had to be very versatile. And
You're right.
and we still are, and that's one thing that I appreciated from WestSide Band, that you were very versatile. Recently, you were kind of catering to a certain crowd, and your rock
Mm-hmm.
and roll came out.
Right, right. We play. Yeah, we play. We have to play a little bit of everything. We just, in fact, played a thing last week at the island, and they wanted a little bit of everything. They wanted Chicago. They wanted this and that. So we played a little bit of that, a little bit of Frank Sinatra. Like
Yes,
New York, New York. And we play that for all the dances. We try to mix it up. Nowadays, it seems like more and more people like the because of the influx of the immigrants and or whatever the tastes are changing. They want
yes.
more uh, not banda but what's it called sonora style,
Oh
sonora
yeah.
music. That is really big in the valley now. And a
Oh
lot
yeah.
of
Like.
people they want to hear sonora.
Hmm.
And that's coming up. We play very maybe one or two songs that are close to the sonora style, but that's something new. But you can never go wrong with playing like the good old San Antonio Tejano, orchestral Tejano, Latin Breed, Little Joe, that kind of stuff. It's wow. Like when I was on the road, we never forget in Bakersfield, I was like I guess 16, 17. We're staying in the same hotel as Little Joe, and they were rehearsing during the week because of course we just played on weekends, and during the week we had the week off, just to go loaf around, and that was great. So we would go listen. They were rehearsing in this hotel. It's called a California Hotel in Bakersfield, and they were working on their album Total. I don't know if you're familiar with that album Total, and it was amazing. They had the trumpet player Louis Gasca. I don't know if you ever heard of Louis Gasca. He used to play with Malo.
Oh, Yeah, I haven't
and
heard of
they were working, and Joe Gallardo was on keyboard. Joe Gallardo was a fantastic jazz piano player, and it was out of this world, and it was just I was just freaking out watching them practice. It was a learning experience, but wow.
We
But
have a question.
that's the influence.
We have a question from Bobby Castañeda. He says, Leo, who were you inspired by on the trumpet and what brand of trumpet do you play? Great questions, Mr. Castañeda.
No, well, I was inspired by when I started going to college and I switched to music. I went and joined the jazz band at Pan Am, and I was the lead trumpet player in the jazz band. My inspiration was the trumpet player was Maynard Ferguson. He is out of this world trumpet player, and He specialized in playing up way up there in the stratosphere, and I said I want to play like that guy. And so, and then the trumpet I played on when I was in college was a Shoki. That's a brand name. Right now, I'm playing on a Shoki. And
Chucky?
I bought a Shoki and a Yamaha, and those and Edwards. That's another trumpet. The trumpet I have in that picture that you posted is an Edward trumpet. Edwards. But I've changed trumpet, but I keep going back to the Shoki. Shoki trumpet.
Now, when you go out there, or when you were out there during the migrant tours times, were you also getting ideas from the other trumpet players, and were you all, like, would be like, hey, let's collaborate, or hey, what are you doing, or I like what you're doing? How was the ambiance between trumpet players in the Orquesta Tejana bands?
Oh, it was good. I always admired trumpet players from like Little Joe, Tony Ham Guerrero.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic trumpet player. And there was the trumpet player from well, he's playing with Aviso now. His name is Lonnie Lane, fantastic trumpet player. And Al Gomez from San Antonio was another guy I've been. And there's Rama Maya from Corpus. He used to uh, play with several bands, Little Joe, and he recorded with Little Joe and Sonny, and Agustin Ramirez. We would bump with them on the road, but those are trumpet players that are fantastic. You
Yeah. That's awesome, because I remember when my dad was playing with Los Fabulosos Cuatro,
know.
Juan Hinojosa would have a crowd behind him of musicians watching
Mhm.
him play.
Mhm.
That
Oh
was
yeah, going back to Juan Hinojosa, the one that really inspired me too, and can paz descanse, is Eddie Fuentes. He used to be the brother of ya también falleció Encarnación Fuentes. He was really one of my big inspirations. He was fantastic, Eddie Fuentes, and Juan Hinojosa was a fantastic drummer, and there's just a lot of good musicians, in the Tejana music, and that you get inspired by just watching them play, And
yes.
your dad was a great inspiration to me as far as when he played the guitar and then sang and came up with these ideas that nobody else. It was unique, you know. Uh, and he
But
played
Paul
it. I
Westbrook
think he
called
did
it that my dad made his own genre.
when he used to play with what was his name? Villarreal. The
Oscar Villarreal, Los
Yeah, with
Mandrill.
Oscar. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That was, I
Yes.
was telling somebody, I'm planning, si Dios quiere, and eventually I'll get to do it, but I want to go and talk to the Mission Museum, and maybe have, I know Carlos Guzman is there, but I think the story of Oscar Villarreal and Los Mandrills, and I talked to Nano Ramirez too, that story, that's our local Richie Valens story,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it was that young man was amazing from what
Yes.
I know, and from my what I've heard from everybody. He was a he was an amazing guy. So
Yeah,
I'm
he died so young.
hmm yes,
Yeah,
yes. It was a tragedy
yeah.
in in our time. You know, that's really tragic story. It's so
Mhm.
sad because they were just on the verge of, you know,
Yeah,
exploding.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, but
Your
it's
experiences on the road. Now you said were you already married by the time you started, or how did
mm,
now I'm
no, I was not married. I was not married when I
yeah,
was on.
I know
And
those were hard times.
yeah, I don't think the marriage would have survived. It has gone too long, and I was young and then single and free. So
Single, ready to
so
mingle.
yeah, but
um, yeah, no, it was hard on the road. So then it was your parents. I mean, I can't even imagine now. I mean, even right now, I have my daughter on GPS. If she went to walk out the dog, I'm watching her, you know. And
yeah,
back then, I mean, we lived it. You all would
mhm,
just leave for a hita and be
yeah.
gone, God knows how long.
Mhm.
And we would just have to wait to hear from you till maybe you were at a gas station halfway through, or to get the call that the car broke down.
Oh, we had a lot of those experiences. Oh my God, those are so many stories that we broke down in the Mojave Desert one time on our way to California, and it was out in the middle of the desert with a broken water pump or something.
Oh,
That, and then the time we got stranded in Michigan was during the snowstorm. We got separated, and we had to sleep in the hallway of a hotel because it was a snowstorm, and all kinds of stuff like that. It happens, on the road, but it was an experience.
yeah.
But
And
going back to my period that when I was going to college, I quit. My biggest regret was in after I did all this stuff with and I the other band I played with for 4 years was Noe Pro. Noe Pro was a very good experience playing with Noe. I enjoyed playing with Noe. Very professional. He's the only guy that he's got everything in his mind. He never has to read lyrics. He's still got a photographic memory or something. Anyway, but I enjoyed working with him. But and then after, while I was going to school, and then I quit playing for 10 years, and that was my biggest regret. I was involved in. I joined the school board locally. I was working on my businesses because I knew I wasn't going to make any money playing the horn. Let's face it, I would have to move to a big city and play every day or something. So
yeah,
I had a family now, and I had to provide. So I built my businesses up, which is Leo's Drive-In and my stores, which where we practice. This was my first store.
really,
Yes, this was my first store, and I had to close it because they widened the highway. So it became like my our
it's your
practice.
office, your practice room.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
office. And so I laid off for 10 years, and then that's when Joe in the early '90s said, "Hey, you guys need to get it. Let's get going again or something."
and
He
then
told me
they
and Mike, and Mike was also real busy with his business,
yes,
so we got it going again. But that layoff did affect that. So like not start from scratch, but
and and one thing maybe people that are not in the business might not get is that it's very addictive to be on the stage and have people, listening to your music, dancing to your music, applauding you. And then when you get off a stage and they're hugging you and telling you how wonderful you are, well, then you go to a regular job.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
I think besides loving music and just being a musician because you love the music, I don't think I don't think you ever quit it. You're always wanting to go back to it. I think it's natural, and there you are, as proof. You had your
Mhm.
stores, you've had your accomplishments, but
Mhm.
there you are back in the music. Why? Is you've got
Mhm.
it in you. That's
Well, the way I see it,
what.
I majored in music, so I said the last years of my life, I'd like to keep on playing and improving on what I used to do very well when I was younger. And
It's such a rewarding thing to do.
yes,
It's
it's very rewarding, and I always enjoyed. It's but it's a little different now that we're older, but it's still there. It's still there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I admire everything that you're doing, uh, I remember Eddie asked me, Eddie Perez says, Leo Gilio? I was like, no, he's like, he's the one from the Leo Drive. It's like, oh, really? What is he doing here playing trumpet? I hadn't put the two and two together. And, but, I think once a musician, always a musician. And no matter whatever else you do in life, you always keep that with you. Even if it would be, like, I remember, well, you're doing it, you're actually playing. I remember my dad and I used to dream about, man, we're just gonna get in a little corner of a restaurant and just, I'll sing and my dad would play guitar, and that was our dream, that we were just gonna,
um,
be in a little corner playing whatever he wanted, all his favorites, not caring about,
mhm,
because as a band you have to please the audience, you have to make sure that they're
mhm,
dancing or they're liking the music, and you cater to them. And he
mhm,
would say, I mean, my dad loved rock and roll. That was his beginnings. That was the Beatles, the Monkees. That was
mhm.
his go-to. What is your go-to music?
All kinds of music. I like all kinds of music. I like salsa music. I like what they call it, Latin jazz, and like big band. I play in a big band right now. Up to now, I've been playing in a big band with Dean Candy's big band, and he's gotten not too many gigs, but he does. And I used to play in a Winter Texan band where we played music from the 1940s,
Wow.
where the Winter Texans would dance, and so we go every Sunday. We go play at a Winter Texan park. We play for 2 hours and play music from the 1940s. Like it's all this
Now,
kind of
what would
stuff.
be music from the 1940s?
Huh? Sort of like foxtrots and that kind of stuff. I don't know if you're familiar. I can't think of any particular name because, but stuff from Frank Sinatra, but that back then that he used to play when he was singing in the 1940s, vocal music.
Was
We
there
had
a clarinet player, Benny? No,
Benny Goodman. Benny Goodman.
Benny.
We used to play some of his music too at the Winter Texan things, and that was fun. That was fun, and desgraciadamente the leader of that band passed away, but he had a book, and we would show up, and here's the music we're gonna do today, and everything was timed, and we played. But
Wow.
that's another genre that's in the valley that really somebody needs to keep it alive, which is the big band era, which
There,
is
yeah, there's some beautiful music from that era.
yeah, the big band era, and so I enjoyed playing that kind of music. And well, like I said, and I also like the Latin jazz stuff. I had a little band that we started, and we played at. In fact, we opened up for Tito Puente Jr. We started a band called Breakpoint, and we played that type of thing, Latin jazz. We played. I don't know. You saw, in fact, René Sandoval was honored in one of those things. Uh, I can't particularly think of the names, but we played that sort of music, the Tito Puente music, and that he played, and so we opened up for him at the we were the first band to play at that new civic center they opened there in McAllen, the Performing Arts.
Oh
The
yeah.
first, yeah, we were the first band to open up with Tito Puente there. Mhm.
I've got a question from Hi Miss Lori Maldonado. She says you guys collaborated with Bob Gallarza. What was the experience?
Well, we collaborated on one song, and that had to do the collaboration between Encarnacion Fuentes and Eddie Perez and Bob Galarza on Mira Amigo. It was a recording. We did an album and with Eddie Perez singing, and Mike Flores was in there also as well, and in Houston. And I personally didn't get to work with him, but uh, Encarnacion, Carney, and Eddie did when they were mixing the song. And it was a big thing because Adalberto Gallego sang with Eddie, and it was a big hit for Adalberto and Eddie at the time.
Was it Mira Amigo?
Mira Amigo, right?
Oh, thank you, Miss Maldonado.
Yeah.
Now I have a question, Mr. Leo. You with your musical abilities, has it carried over to your children? Or any of your children musically inclined or interested in music?
I only have one daughter, and she did start uh, with the clarinet, like Benny Goodman, that kind of stuff. I was always encouraging her, and she went on, but she had other interests as well. Yeah, she went to Texas Tech University, marched in the Texas Tech band,
Oh
and
wow.
everything for playing in the clarinet. And in the clarinet, she did okay. She was pretty good, but she wasn't devoted to it. And so
Yeah.
she found other interests. So she decided to go into the medical uh, administration part. She wanted to be a physical therapist, that kind of stuff.
Oh,
So she kind of let it go, but she still loves
yeah.
music. Yeah.
So Laura Maldonado says Bob loved you guys, and I'm sure your professionalism
Yeah.
brings in the people. Um,
Yes.
that's interesting that you say that because, well, one of the things which, and I promise it will be out, Mr. Roberto Pulido. I just haven't put it together, but he made a special segment that he wanted to talk to our youth about. If you love music, if you want to get into it, go for it. But get your education first. Make it have music be your side gig. Have music be your,
Mm.
uh, you know,
Yeah.
because as you well know, there's no
Mhm.
money in music, really, not
No,
really.
there really is, and it's like the old saying says, you buy all this equipment and all this stuff, and you go play a gig, and like the joke says, you still make $50 a night. So
Yep.
that's I mean,
Yeah.
but you don't do it for the money. You do it because you love it, and that's the way it is. It's a self satisfaction thing.
That
But
I
but
think that's
but
really
it's
right.
very important to have something to fall back on and to be able to draw social security or retirement on something. If you love music a lot, get your music degree. Like that's what I did, and do something. Something to fall back on, and you this. Desgraciadamente, well, not desgraciadamente, more power to the people who can. But if you make it like these Grupo Frontera people and the, the guys from Zapata, ¿cómo se llaman estos? Uh,
Um,
you
Intocables
know what I'm
Intocable.
talking. See, they're making a living playing.
Yeah,
That's their livelihood,
yeah.
and I'm sure they're putting money away for their old age and that kind of stuff. But not too many people are fortunate enough to make it super big. Where
Yeah.
not like
And it's
things.
so different now. I mean, back then, like you were showing me all these records that you recorded on records that were physical records, physical 45s, physical LPs, and then later on,
Mhm.
physical cassettes, 8 tracks, and CDs. Now everything is right here. What we're doing,
I
everything
know,
is
I
on the
know.
internet.
Everything is digital. Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a totally different ball game now. All this AI stuff, and I don't know what. I can't keep up with it, to tell you the truth. I can barely get online with it. I had a heck of a time trying to to
Just trying to
uh,
connect.
just to get on the air. But
Yeah, it's a different ball game. So, would you agree with? I'm sure you would agree with what Mr. Roberto Polido was saying, that it is, if you're gonna go into music because you love it. Because I know my dad for sure. He was born to do music. He came to
mhm,
this world to do music. He couldn't think of doing anything else. He was a an accountant, and he
mhm.
worked for that big company in for inspiration in Business 83. Halliburton. He worked for Halliburton.
Oh, okay.
He was an accountant for Halliburton,
Hmm.
but he
Yeah.
couldn't.
Right,
He
right.
he couldn't. He had to go back to music. He couldn't. He loved it,
Hmm.
but he had to go back to music. That was his thing. And I know there's a lot of people who would. There's nothing else they'd rather do than do music, but
Right, right.
there's the suggestion or that if you're gonna go into it, I mean, you should be so lucky as Frontera, but that was like a one in a million shot, you know. Uh, but to get
Hmm.
your education first, what do you see in the future as far as music is concerned? I know you're keeping it alive with the Orquestral Tejano, um, but as you mentioned, we're near the border, and we a lot of the influence from uh, not only like Los Angeles Azules and stuff like that are filtering over here. Um, I think there's a big clash between keeping our identity as Chicanos, Americans of Mexican descent, and all the music that is inundating us from
Hmm.
Mexico, and other parts of Spanish music.
Hmm.
Do you feel that we can stand our ground with Tejano music? What do you think?
I think it's going to be very challenging for Tejano music as we know it to unless we can get our kids interested in like in the high school, in the school system that they like the conjunto stuff, but there's really not a Tejano thing really in education. It's sort of like fading away, and then we got to find a way to keep it alive. And and I don't know what it's going to take. But I know that Tejano, I mean, the conjunto thing is fantastic. They got all these competitions, the Narciso Martinez thing over there in San Benito, that type of thing, which is great. There's nothing more power to them. But as far as the orquestal Tejano or even Tejano with
With the keyboards
the keyboards and stuff, it's sort of like
fading away.
fading unless somebody comes up with a big hit or something that the kids can want to play it, or listen to it and buy the recordings and that kind of stuff. But if not, I don't know what's going to take.
Well,
Uh,
the good
the
news
good news
is
is, hmm
that we started the Tejano Music Legacy Foundation. It started with the pioneers there with Eulalio Lalo Reina, and
hmm
the Tejano Music Legacy Foundation has already started a pilot program in Edinburgh for Tejano music.
hmm
We're not reinventing the wheel. What the decision was to just incorporate Tejano music into the curriculum that's already set for conjunto and mariachi, and I think even in Edinburgh they started banda.
oh,
So they're going to incorporate Tejano music into their curriculum, and so that's exciting. It's a pilot program,
Mm.
And I mean, we're hoping that it's a success, and Dios nos ayude con eso, and more school districts want to jump on board and do the same.
Yeah, that would
So
be great. That would be great.
because it's true that the younger generation, my daughter's generation, I was playing her some songs, and she's just, she doesn't hear it, so she doesn't, she can't even appreciate it because she really can't associate with it. It wasn't.
Mm.
She heard mom singing all the time and all of her grandpa's music, but it wasn't. That was what we did. That's what grandpa did and mom did. It wasn't her thing. So hopefully, we introduce this Tejano music, reintroduce it to our
Yes.
younger generation, and anybody out there interested in what we're doing, look for our link to Tejano Music Legacy Foundation so you can learn more about it. And hopefully, we can keep this Tejano music going because it's beautiful music. And not only is it beautiful music, it's definitely a reflection on our culture because
Yes.
it is a perfect combination of the American music influence combined with our heritage, and
Hmm.
as we recall, even right here in the RGV, we were not, we didn't cross the border crossed us.
Hmm.
Us and
Yeah.
generations before us have been here for forever. And
Hmm.
so I think that's something that hopefully that the younger generation will appreciate. um
Yeah. This all has to do with that, the younger generation, getting into it. But that's what it's going to take. And desgraciadamente, the leadership at the state is doing away with public. They're not too big into public education. They're
no,
cutting funds. Yeah, they're cutting funds. They're pushing all this school choice and taking money away from the public school, from public teachers, and all kinds of stuff going on. And that's another issue altogether. But I don't want
yeah,
to get
yeah,
into
the pushback is hard.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be tough, and I know, like, even for our pilot program, they're needing acordeones, keyboards, bajo sextos, and drum
Yeah.
kit and stuff like that. And I mean, we're trying as a foundation and nonprofit. We're looking for sponsors, but it
Yeah.
is gonna be tough. And I know my own nephew, is in the band at Nicky Rowe, and
Mm.
que en paz descanse, that young man, that young football player that
Oh
passed.
yeah, yeah. That
That
was
was
so sad.
so
Yeah.
sad. But they announced that I'm in the band boosters with my sister, and they announced that there was going to be no funding for the band, and
Mm.
they might have to fund their own away trips, even
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that was so sad.
No.
Some
Yeah.
kids are barely in school, and the only thing that keeps them there is the music.
Yeah. I don't
You know,
even want to mention what's going on in La Jolla. Was really bad, but that's another story altogether.
we can just hope that we can just ask our audience and the public, um, support your local schools, support your local bands, vote when it's time to vote,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that the a lot of our kids, get lost in the. I mean, there's still a giant dropout rate, and I
Mm-hmm.
think this music might be the one thing that maybe that one kid that sees no reason to go to school might find a reason to go to school, you know?
Correct.
And
Yeah,
so
I agree.
I've
Yeah.
got Bobby Castañeda says, I like your playing on Mel Villarreal's albums. Thank you for your contribution to our genre. Yes, thank
Oh,
you for
thank
your
you, Bobby.
contribution.
Thank you, Bobby.
And I do hope that your application goes through for Tejano Roots Hall of Fame because, and that's what I do. And saludos to Ruben Lopez and Noe Lerma. Noe Lerma is out there. Actually, if you want to look him up, his son was just diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and he's
Yes,
for
I,
donations. So saludos to everybody out there. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all one big family, and we should be helping each other, not stepping all over each other and bringing each other down. We should all be bringing each other up because somos muy poquitos at the end of the day. We're a very small little clique, lo que es el Tejano.
Right,
So
right. It's all just coming together, and I congratulate Mike. I understand he had a very Mike Flores. His dance last night was a big success, and good for you, Mike. You keep it up, keeping
yes,
Tejano alive.
and saludos to Estela. And I hope she's no longer under the weather, and then she was a little sick. Hopefully, she's feeling better.
Yeah.
M&E Productions, they're doing great. They're doing their part for bringing
Yes, they are.
Tejano. Who was it that new variety band they
New
played last
variety
night?
band and Pio
Yes,
Trevino.
with Agnes Torres and Pio
Yeah, yeah,
Trevino. Yes,
yeah,
that's
right.
awesome. Saludos to M&E Productions, to Mike Flores and Estela. Thank you for keeping. Armando San Roman, I believe, is involved in that too. I mean,
Yes,
that's really great because that's part of
yeah.
bringing Tejano back to the forefront. Now, I would like to see younger people go to these shows. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a lot of snow-haired people.
Yeah.
Pero
Get
the
more younger people involved in
get
that.
the
Yeah, that
younger
would be
crowds
great.
involved and let
Yeah.
them enjoy the music and reintroduce it because some of them don't even know it.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I wish I would, but that's up to us, I guess, to push them.
It is. It is.
Hmm.
Well, Mr. Leo J. Leo, we're already on an hour on our show. So
Okay.
I know usually we run 1 hour and I planned for an hour, but then we end up with 2 hours. Now, Carlos Guzman, when I interviewed him, said,
Mhm.
first of all, I need only one host because I can't be listening to two people.
Yeah.
And, and then he said, and then clock me in the hour. In the hour, we're cutting the show. It's over, and
Yeah,
we'll do a second
yeah.
part. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you, Leo J. Leo, are we good, or you got more stories to tell, or I mean, I would love to have you stay on, but it's
Well,
gonna be
I've enjoyed it so much. I wanted to. I'm glad for the opportunity to share my story with you, and I am so happy that you're doing these types of things and trying to keep the movement alive. And there's so many things that need to happen in the Tejano music scene, and everybody, I guess, does a little part of their own. So many people that. So many friends, so many experiences that I forget to mention, and if I did, I'm sorry. There's so much so much to talk about,
a whole lifetime. You have a whole lifetime in music.
uh, yeah, and so, but let's say hello to I've like Chendo Beltran, Chendo Beltran, right? Rosendo Beltran, you know him?
Oh yeah, Rosendo.
Yeah, yeah, him. He was part of Los Jóvenes for many years. Gilbert Trejo, Robert Del Angel, a fantastic bass player. He was there for quite a while. And so many people. And we ran across Balde Munoz was also another
Giant.
musician. We kept running to each other on the road and that type of thing. And now he's involved with M&E and trying to keep the movement alive. But like I said, one thing El Junto I used to work with, and I didn't mention him at all, is uh, Roy Sanchez, which they call Java Sanchez. I
Oh,
worked with
Java.
Gitano band, and that was a good part of we did uh, some good music with him, and him and Mario Science and
Oh,
Floyd
Mario
Hanna,
Sanchez is cruisers
with
right now all over the place.
Floyd Hanna, and there's
Floyd,
so
I'm
many.
waiting for Floyd.
That,
Floyd, I need to get Floyd down here too.
yes, Floyd's got a ton of
He was with everybody too.
experience. Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the
yes, he
thing.
was.
that's what I'm noticing. A lot of the pioneers of Tejano. I mean, it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that a lot of the pioneers are right here from the valley that started.
Mm,
I mean, even los Fabulosos Cuatro estaban en McAllen primero before they
mhm.
went off into Alice and
Yeah.
San Angel over there.
Uh,
But
you've had Armando Hinojosa before already, right?
yes, two,
Uh-huh.
twice, part one and
Mm.
part two. He's got a lot to say.
Oh yeah, Armando has got a lot. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and a lot of the pioneers started here. And actually, when I was talking to Tony Ham's son Alfredo, he said,
Mhm.
"Man, there's so much talent in the valley," and I said, "It's in the water." But it's true. A lot of the a lot of the pioneers and the legends are all here, and I'm not saying that there's not pioneers and legends out there because Mr. Lalo Reina has those 29 chapters all over the United States and
Yeah.
Mexico that they handle legend
Right.
pioneers. Saludos to
Right.
Mr. Lalo Reina.
Yes.
Because they're everywhere. But if they're out there, if they're gonna bring back their roots, most of them, if not all of them, to here to the valley.
Hmm.
So and it's something amazing, and to think that you were part of that, you were part of that growing new genre that was being created.
Yeah.
You
We're
know,
growing up, and then it just became. I just sort of grew part of in there somewhere. But
yeah,
there's
you became part of
some.
it,
Yeah.
and that's the
But
thing. Like nobody knows. Like my sister always said, like, "Oh, I'm just a bass player." It's like, well, yeah, but you're part of the band. You're an integral part of the band. Every part is needed, as you well know, like a well-oiled machine. Everything needs to work together, or else it doesn't work. And I think also being in the band is part of learning how to work together as a group and how to collaborate. And I think it's all kinds of things. And you being part of it so for so many years, I would dare to say that that was a great experience for you for later on. Working with so many people and then traveling on the road. Are you kidding me?
that
With
was
people
a
that are not your family.
yeah. That was I'll never forget those days. And the night I graduated from high school, there was Carlos Guzman in the van waiting for me to turn in my cap and gown so I can get on the van to get on the road.
Oh,
That
wow.
was,
Ni,
was,
ni que graduation party ni que nada.
vámonos, say goodbye to my senior friends and all that. Vámonos, I'm on the road.
How did your parents feel about that? I can't imagine. I mean, as a parent, I can't imagine seeing my child go off into the
Well,
road.
that's why Carlos I had to go ask permission. But it's just an experience, and it's a part of my life that I'll always reflect very good
Fondly.
memory, very good memories. Yeah, being in Chicago for we played 3 nights, and the rest of the week we just wandered down State Street and up and down Chicago, just doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then the money wasn't that bad at the time that Carlos was paying us. We made $180 a week
Wow.
back then, and then did nothing during the week.
And for anybody watching, $180 a week doesn't sound like much right now, but back then,
Yes,
the burgers were $1.25.
yeah, yeah.
The gas was 75 cents.
So we got paid $60 a gig back then for three nights, and then y una tardeada en los domingos. There was always a tardeada en los domingos.
Uh-huh.
And so, but during the week, just hung around the room and just go to the movies or go buy clothes. So we always had this fancy clothes that we bought and kind of stuff. But it was
Yeah,
just
we
an
were
experience.
the bell
Young,
bottoms and the platform
yeah, bell
shoes.
bottom, elephant bottoms. Forget it, bell bottom.
Elephant bottoms, not even
Yeah.
bell bottoms.
So Anyway, it's just a good memory of my life. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
That's great, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you shared that with us. And like I said, not enough people appreciate the integral part of any band, especially in the orchestral band. Now, I've seen you in action. I've seen you all play. I've heard you all. I mean, you guys are just amazing. And if anybody appreciates watching you, they don't even know the process. They or even I've been lucky enough to be there in the process where like like, oh no, it goes like this, or and hit it at this, and it stops at this count, and or it starts at this count. And I mean, that is so cool. And people that don't know that part, I mean, you get a better appreciation of the music that you're listening to, because it took a lot of practices to get there, in front of the
Mm,
people. And for you, you're enjoying it because these guys practiced, because these guys were, making sure that it was enjoyable to the audience. So,
mm,
I mean, that's so important. And to know that and to be aware of that is,
mm.
to appreciate the band even more.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yes. And then I admire the ones that are right now on the road, like the musicians from Latin Breed right now. They're good friends. The trumpet player there from Steve Sanchez, fantastic trumpet player, good friend, good band director, good educator. He does a good parent, everything. He's already, I think, a grandfather now, but he's still young. He's at the top of his game, and you admire people like that, and then have the energy you do to do all that. There's a lot of good musicians out there. They're at the top of their game, and wow, I just admire them.
oh my goodness! You know what, Mr. Leo? I forgot to run my ads. I have two sponsors now. Let me. My sister is the Stars manager. Stars in Mission, between Bryan and Mayberry, the one in between the other burger place and the pizza joint in the middle. So if you're out there in Mission, go visit my sister. Here's her ad. Here we go.
That was good.
Stars is really good. You don't have to put your pants on, just whatever, your pajamas, your shorts, vámonos, and they'll serve you great food right there at your car. Now I have a saludos to my new sponsor, which is Jaime Barrera. His dad was a pharmacist as well. You might have known him, Richard. What was his name? Chinelas. What's his name? Barrera. I can't think of his name right now, but let me run his ad.
Wow, nice.
Jaime Barrera, and his dad. I think I want to say Ramiro Barrera was his name.
Uh,
And he was a big Tejano fan. He loved my dad's music.
um,
Oh yeah, and yeah, he recently passed también, but he was a big fan of Tejano music. So we've got
mm,
him on board. Um, well, I want to say thank you so much, Mr. Leo J. Leo, for this show. I think it's real important for people to know our history and to know our musical history, because if it's part of us and you're part of that history. And as a surprise to me, your dad was a giant contributor to the civil rights movement in the area. And so I would recommend anybody watching or listening that to go look up your story. And of course, you prominent with your Leo's Drive-ins, very prominent member of our community as well, but a musician. And music, I think, like I've always said, it's music is magic. It brings people together, no matter what religious stand you have or political stance or whatnot. Music can bring people together magically, and I'm sure you've seen that at your shows. You're gonna have people from the right and left and all kinds in the middle, uh,
Mhm.
but music brings them together.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, I've enjoyed it so much. Thank you for inviting me, and I really enjoyed it, and got to tell a little bit of my story for
I'm
what it's
sorry.
worth. Thank you for inviting me, and at least I got to tell a little bit of my story. I said, and
No, you've got plenty of stories to tell. Yeah, maybe there's some you don't want to tell. I don't know. That might be for another show.
well, let's not go there. But anyway, it was fun, and it's been a pleasure. And I thank you so much for inviting me, and let's keep on going. That's all
Yes,
I got
let's
to
keep
say.
on
Let's keep on going.
music.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes. My dad
Uh,
said que iba a ir hasta que truene, and that's what happened.
yeah, yeah.
He went at it until he passed. So
Mm,
I mean, I think every musician, maybe in their heart, if a true musician, um, they don't see themselves ever stopping. Maybe
mhm,
for a little bit, maybe not the long roads and the giras, not so
mhm.
much, but
Yeah.
maybe that little corner in that little restaurant, and just kind of just playing what you want, and
Mhm,
nobody, just
mhm.
playing your music.
Yeah.
That
Well,
would be.
like to shout out to Eddie Olivares. I think he has a show too, similar to yours, no? Over there in Florida or somewhere.
Yes, I've been
Eddie
trying to get him
Olivares.
because he was a good friend of my dad's. They were actually
Mhm,
in touch before my dad passed.
mhm, mhm.
I've been trying to get him over here on the show. He's over there in Florida right now.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah. But he comes occasionally, I think, to the valley.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, thank you so much again. And there's so many people I'd like to thank, and I can't think.
Oh no, no, no! Look, take your time. Thank them right now. Let's think.
Uh,
Let's think about first of all the West Side Band. There's
the
Eddie
West Side
Perez
Band.
and the people there.
Yeah, Joe Valadez, like you said, Richard Garza, Michelle Gutierrez, and Oscar Santiago is another one that is a fantastic saxophone player. He just retired from teaching in La Jolla for I don't know how many years. Band director, and he is a great saxophone player. He's in there, and then keyboard player is Nick. Uh, Nick, and then the Loya brothers are playing. You ever heard of the Loya band? We have the
Of course.
brother, two brothers playing with us. David Loya and Chihuahua. You know how your mind goes at this age. You know, my mind
I
goes.
know. I know. I put notes. I put notes like while I'm talking to people on the phone. I'll be like, okay, remember to okay, she told me
Yeah.
that. She remember on Friday she said that we were gonna
In
go.
fact, he's in charge of the conjunto program en La Jolla. El hermano ¿cómo se llama? Jeez, this is embarrassing, but anyway,
And it's a lawyer, one of the lawyers.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
well, then maybe I'd
David,
like want to talk
David,
to him about putting Tejano there in La Jolla. And
yeah,
I
he's
know there's.
the conjunto. He is bringing up the conjunto program in La Jolla and competing locally and statewide with them, and he's
Yeah.
doing a fantastic job. Um, but
Well, is he then? I know the Palmview uh, what were they called anyway? Those youngsters at the high school in Palmview that got national recognition. What was that song that they were
Mm.
playing? I don't remember, but yeah, they got pretty popular. Um,
Mm.
band from conjunto band from Palmview High School.
Is that right? From Palmview? I don't recall.
Palmview is still part of La Jolla, no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's one of the high schools. La Jolla's got three high school, I think. Palmview, La Jolla, and the one over there on the 7 Mile Line. I can't think of the three high schools.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I'd like to talk to him for our pilot program. I mean, see if he'd be interested. Good
But
music.
yeah,
um,
anyway.
Anybody else you'd like to say hi to? Now, I want to remind everybody if you're watching us on Facebook, it's live, but then you can see it later. You can watch us on YouTube at Giras y Desveladas on YouTube anytime. We're on Tejano TV. We actually have our own channel. In the Tejano TV channel, we have Giras y Desveladas. So you're welcome to go on there. They actually play, it's 24/7 on all week, 24/7. So now it's been like they used to show one show, but now they're putting a variety of shows all together. So check it out on Tejano TV. It's tejanotv.com or on a Roku channel, or you can download it on your device as an app, Tejano TV. So there's mine. All right. Anybody else you think of that you want to say hi to?
Well,
Go blank. I know, and you go blank. And right now, when we get
all
off, you'll be like, "Ay, se me olvidó."
right. See, I know. That's the way it is. But I think uh, that's it. I think for right now.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you so much, and thank you for
Mm.
your contribution to music. I really do hope you get into the Tejano Roots Hall of Fame. I think you deserve it. I hope you get your recognition. That is well deserved. So I'll see you.
Oh,
Uh,
real quick. His name is Javi Loya. I'm sorry. I got his finally his
look
name.
at look,
Javier
you're
Loya.
transcending. Joe Hernandez, hi Joe. He said Javi Loya, Leo.
Yeah.
So saludos to Joe Hernandez.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh, all right. Thank you so much,
Thank
Gigi.
you so much.
For inviting me.
I had a great
Okay.
time, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed learning so much about you and
Mm.
the history of your family uh, that you have here in the community.
Mm.
And thank you so much for everything that you're doing. We'll see you soon. Si Dios quiere. I'm gonna put the outro. Stay on there. I'll stay on here for a little bit so that after I end the stream, um, I'll chat for you for a little bit. Bye, guys. Thank you
Okay.
everybody for coming. Um, like and subscribe. We'll see you later. Take care. Take care. God bless everybody. Bye.
Thank you.